last video, we talked about some of the common mistakes companies make when developing their succession plans. Today, we'll discuss ways organizations go wrong in the implementation of these plans. And the first is keeping succession planning a secret. Succession planning is an important strategic process, and for that reason, some senior leadership teams feel it should not be communicated throughout the organization. But a lack of transparency might lead some high potential employees to leave the organization if they don't think there are advancement opportunities available. Communicating your succession plan to employees is likely to have a positive impact on their motivation. Next is relying on only one successor per role. Companies sometimes think they're on track if they have identified one successor for each key role. The problem with this is that if your one succession candidate decides to leave, you have no backup plan. That's why having a pool of talented candidates is important. It gives you options when it comes to filling important positions. Next is assuming that success in one position will extend to success in a higher position. It's not uncommon for companies to assume that if an individual performs well at one level, they'll continue to do so when promoted to a higher level. But continued success is not a guarantee. Remember to carefully evaluate all succession candidates against the criteria needed for the position, not just their past performance. Next is delegating full succession planning responsibility to HR. Now look, depending on the structure of your organization, it might make sense for HR to spearhead the succession planning process. But succession planning should always be a company-wide initiative. The most common reason succession planning fails is a lack of management support. So remember, keep all parties accountable in order to achieve success. Fifth is failing to update the plan regularly. Some organizations go through the work of developing thorough succession plans but become stalled in the implementation phase. You should never go more than 6 months without reviewing your succession plans. Remember, succession planning is a dynamic process. Don't be afraid to update your plan as you make your way through. And last is failing to properly document the process. Carefully documenting each step of the succession process can sometimes seem low priority, but having this information is important for 2 key reasons. First, you'll be better able to communicate the success of your program if you can clearly state what you've done and the impact it's had on key indicators. And second, documentation is vital if your organization ever finds itself in a situation where it must defend selection decisions. This is a case where you won't know the true value of having this information until you need it. So those are some of the most common mistakes we see organizations make when implementing their own succession plans. For a complete list, check out our top 10 succession planning mistakes post at sigmasuccession.com. And at Sigma, we have a variety of resources available to help you through the process. You can visit our template library or download our free succession planning guide to get started today.